It may be the most addictive toy in history, and it's definitely the hottest thing this Christmas. Nintendo video games. They first arrived from Japan 3 years ago, and now millions of American kids are hooked and mesmerized. When they do stop to talk, it's in a language only they understand.
You're playing with power.
Since we can remember, we have been nuts for Nintendo. We have a generation gap between us of 8-9 year range, and that creates a cool dynamic on the channel. But we both started with Nintendo products.
Yes, we both grew up and started with the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we're going to really peel back the curtain as to why we feel people are nuts about Nintendo still to this very day, whether it be collectors, the casual gamer, families, everyone in between. But we're going to tell the story from our perspective and kind of take you through our journey because we think a lot of you might have the same experience. So since I can remember, the late 80s, it was probably 89, maybe 90, when I remember playing Nintendo for the first time. I was somewhere between 3.5 and 4 years old. We've told some of these stories before, but I'll never forget it. Super Mario Brothers and Zelda stick out to me as the first two games I've seen, and I could not believe the precision, the control, the colors, the graphics. As a little kid, I can control what happens on that TV screen. It was mind-blowing. The nostalgia I feel to this day for the commercials, the magazines. Nintendo officially cast its spell on me from my earliest memories as a child.
That's so crazy because I grew up with the NES too, and I remember playing Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt, and I remember playing 2-player Mario, so I could be Luigi and Mario by myself. So every time I would die, I'd just play again. And it was awesome, and so I just grew up, and I was like, this is insane. I was way young. It was my mom's NES, and it was so cool. And then I remember getting the N64 for Christmas, and that changed my life. That was the first console I ever owned. It was mine. And the 64 was so awesome back in the day. It was incredible.
I get jacked up with some of the games he talks about on the 64 because those were his first games that were his. You know, the Star Wars games, things like that.
Yes.
So the weird part is because of what your mom had and when you were born, you kind of skipped over, not by choice, but the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I didn't even know the Super Nintendo was a thing.
Until you were much older.
Until I was much older, but the Super Nintendo's awesome.
Yeah, so I went from the NES to the Game Boy. Well, still playing them at the same time, but that was the next console I got, and then I got the beloved Super Nintendo, and this was right around the time that the N64 came out. Beyond the NES, I always was a console generation behind. I just think my parents thought it was more feasible to spend less money, be able to get more games, things like that. Then parlay that into an N64 a couple years down the line. But this is the point where things get a little weird for me as a Nintendo fan, and I think for you as well. We've talked about this behind the scenes, and it's crazy because we were diehard Nintendo fans as kids. But at some point it wasn't so cool to us, and we drifted away from the console that had cast a spell on us as youth.
I'm gonna blame the PS2 for that one for me.
Yeah.
It just when I got my PS2, I was like, holy crap, and I kind of just dropped Nintendo because I was like, oh, this is kiddie. But PS2 was like, it felt badass.
Yes,
you know?
and you know what's so weird? Again, we have this big gap, but that was the same console that started pulling me away. Actually, I would maybe see the Dreamcast started to, and then the PS2 really drove that nail in the coffin to the point that my brother had a Nintendo GameCube, and other than helping him beat certain games and get through certain parts, which I thought they looked cool, man, nothing was going to take me away from Metal Gear Solid 2, Twisted Metal Black, Grand Theft Auto games. Man, there aren't hookers in Mario games.
No.
You know, when you're a young teenage kid, I mean, that was the edgy thing to do. And I left Nintendo in the dust. This trend for me, and I think for you as well, continued year after year, generation after generation. I always knew what Nintendo was doing, but I was always playing the next big thing.
Yes, I was always playing the next console, the next game coming out, because I was like, dude, this is the next edgiest thing, this is the next coolest thing. But I had my eye on Nintendo. We had a Nintendo Wii growing up. I loved the Wii, but I never really gave it the time of day. But now, looking back, I'm like, wow, I kind of missed out.
Yeah, so same thing. My girlfriend at the time was way into the Nintendo Wii, so we got a Wii, and I had played some of the Wii bowling, and I was like, you know, these motion controls, it is not as cool as my 360 and PS3. It's just not. It's not as edgy. And here we are now. We'll fast forward to the current generation where we are both kind of game collectors. The nostalgia bug is biting us. And we drifted away from Nintendo. But today in 2020, we still find ourselves nuts for Nintendo.
Yeah, we keep going back to it.
It is weird. So the point that I am trying to make is, what is it about Nintendo consoles that keep collectors so enthralled? Because beyond the Super Nintendo, Nintendo has not been the leading sales console, with the exception of the Nintendo Wii. So the Wii killed it, right? But the 64, the GameCube, the Wii U, we know that struggled, which we love that console. And even the Switch, as successful as it seems, lags behind in the sales category. And a lot of that maybe has to do with the timing of the release and everything. But you get the point where Nintendo didn't always have the largest install base. But as we go back, if we look at our consoles that we collect for it, and guys, we're not trying to come off as Nintendo fanboys.
No, we love everything.
We do. And if it's a good game, we love it. We've been jonesing on the PS2 really hard lately. But, you know, high level view, we tend to go back to our Nintendo consoles more. It seems like you and us, the retro game enthusiasts, retro game collectors, seem to go back, at least in North America, to Nintendo consoles more.
Yes.
More than Sega, more than Sony, more than Microsoft. But why?
Why?
Why do we do this?
Why?
We do it too.
I have an idea. I think it's because Sony and Microsoft and all these developers, they're putting out the next best thing, and it's just kind of like an upgrade.
Like a console upgrade.
A console upgrade. You know, the PS2. Oh, you get the PS3. It's just slightly better. Oh, Xbox 360, Xbox One. It's just slightly better. It's still awesome, but when Nintendo puts out a new thing, it's a new... it's like totally different.
Yeah, so if I'm picking up on why you're going with this, inherently, fundamentally, the consoles don't change much from generation to generation. Now, what you see on the screen does, from a graphical standpoint, but the machine, the fundamentals of how you play.
And same with the games. Like, there's been series where it's just, the next Uncharted, the next God of War. And I'm not
Call of Duty.
I'm not dissing on those, but you know what I'm saying?
So here's what we're getting at. Those consoles are super gratifying and fun to play in the moment. You know, you want to play the latest, FIFA, MLB The Show, Madden, Call of Duty, Uncharted games with the best, like 4K graphics, HD graphics. Beautiful. Do you remember when PS3 and 360 came out HD graphics?
Oh, it was insane.
Dude, huge deal. But you can't sleep on Nintendo, because when you go back to their consoles, there is like you said, a differentiating factor. Playing the Nintendo Wii is nothing like playing the Nintendo Switch.
No.
Playing the Nintendo Switch is nothing like playing the GameCube or the Super Nintendo. They all are a completely different entity. And their characters, their sprites, their graphics. I'm going to pull out Disney.
Ooh, that's a good point.
They have a timeless Disney-esque element where Mario Galaxy did not need HD graphics. It did not need what the PS3 or 360 could do. It created this ulterior universe, this alternate world. You just felt like you were enthralled, and it looked great. The colors were popping. It's like when I go back and watch Pinocchio.
Yes, or Cinderella.
I love it. I don't need the latest Pixar film. They're cool in the moment, but when you go back and watch those timeless classics, and I think Nintendo focuses on that, they're playing the long game.
Yeah, they are so smart, and we've said it before, we love Nintendo, but they are geniuses.
It's weird, many times in the moment I find myself going, what the are they doing? But then, as I go back as a collector, what were we playing last weekend? Oh, the Nintendo Wii.
Yep.
You know, what were we playing the weekend before? Some Wii U. And we've got all these other consoles at our disposal. I think that is why collectors, in general, are so much more nuts for Nintendo than they are other consoles, because there is that fabric that was weaved into us as young children. We were brought up Nintendo kids. They had us.
Yeah, they knew exactly how to get us.
And then they got us with the characters, and then they can keep bringing back these characters. Like when you get a new Kirby game, you get a new Mario game. You know, if they dropped a new Dr. Mario game tomorrow, we would shut down the channel for 2 days. We just would have to, because Robert would be all over it. That doesn't always happen when you get like the next installment of, Uncharted, even if, even series that we like, a new God of War game wouldn't really do that for me. And I love God of War.
Yeah, it would be a sweet game. We're not dissing on that game, but it's just, it has something that's different about it. It's in a different ballpark. It's in a different world.
Yeah.
Nintendo just does their own thing, and it's timeless.
And I also think there is a an aspect of the mass appeal. So, you know, when we fell in love or out in love with other things than Nintendo, and maybe a little bit out of love with Nintendo as we were young, you know, teenagers, preteens, whatever you want to call it, those consoles were geared towards us.
Yes.
They felt like where Nintendo was like still trying to get families around the TV, you know, they did it with the NES, like to get people to play Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers. And they were making games at that time when we were growing up with your Smash Brothers, your Mario parties, games that were still eliciting that same community feel and vibe.
And they're still doing it.
Yeah, the Nintendo Switch has came out, and it's so weird, but I feel it happening again, but in the moment.
Yes.
We both play the PS4 more than the Switch, but we collect more for the Switch than we do the PS4, and I have a feeling 10 years from now, we'll be playing the Switch way more than we play our PS4.
Yeah, I feel like once the PS5 comes out, which I'm super excited for, we're going to get it. I'm not really going to touch the PS4.
But again, it's the next new shiny thing.
Yes, that's why.
Which almost makes, in essence, not in every case, but almost makes the PS4 obsolete. Where when the next Nintendo console comes out, it probably will be vastly different than the Switch. So the Switch never becomes obsolete. Just like the Wii doesn't become obsolete because you can't play Wii bowling on the Switch. You know, it's just crazy how they have done that. And I think it speaks to them playing the long game, the duration of their company. It reminds me, I brought up Disney. They've had years where it's ebbs and flows, but guess what? We all still go back. There's so many of you watching who probably, as soon as Disney Plus was a new thing, forgot how much you love Disney. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get that.
It.
Yeah. I think that's what Nintendo does. It's just we're so loyal to the brand, and it's just so ingrained in our psyche that we want to play those games.
It's so crazy.
It is. So we had recently binge watched a little bit of that John Stossel Nuts for Nintendo, and it was like, that's where they got us.
Yeah.
They got us early on. They got us right out of the womb. And they've been with us ever since, but they also deliver, giving us a timeless product to go back to time and time again. We are officially #Nuts for Nintendo. This beer, what do you think, man? You're an IPA guy. This brewery is new to us. This is only the second one I think we've done from them on the channel.
Yes, this is Crucifixion, Third Civil War by Nightmare Brewing Company. It's a double IPA with Sacramental Bread, Calypso, Die Secret, and Simcoe. Don't even know what some of those are, but wow. This beer is so unique. It's so tasty. It kind of has a communion vibe to it. Like if you've ever had communion at church, it has that wine, that bready aspect to it, which is really weird, but also has an IPA taste with it. You know what I mean?
I love the nose on this. I get that Citra hop right up there on the front. Wow, it's such a great beer. Such a horrible way to go as far as the Crucifixion thing aspect of it. But they're delivering a fantastic product. Their beers the names are so gory and like edgy, but the beers they're edgy, but they're delicious.
Yeah, it's so good. And what's so crazy is this is so chunky and cloudy and just, this is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so good. Nightmare Brewing Company, how do we not know about them sooner?
Yeah.
I don't know, but holy crap.
They are 2 for 2 so far with fantastic top shelf brews. This is one of the better IPAs I've had this year. I really enjoy it. And we're going to keep looking for their beers because they do a fantastic job. This comes in at 10%. Usually IPAs that are north of 8 for me, not a fan of.
Yeah, usually they're a lot grittier.
Yeah, but this is well balanced, very enjoyable. I think an IPA lover would absolutely love this beer. And I also think it is not too aggressive that a non-IPA lover would be able to turn their nose up at it because it is a good brew.
Yeah, this is phenomenal.
So, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Listen to us talk about kind of our video game journey and how we were nuts for Nintendo as kids. We drifted away. But now, as we look back at our collection, what do we always go back to? Tell us your story in the comment section below. We think there's a lot of people out there who have had this same trajectory through their video game path in life with Nintendo. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the timeless classic. It's the Disney in the video game realm.
Man, I just want to go back and play some NES right now.
Yeah.
Especially
some Dr.
Mario.
Well, we're going to go do that. So we always appreciate you guys tuning in and subscribing to the channel. Keep gaming, keep drinking. We'll see you next time right here on Gaming Off the Grid. Well, this is the spot we usually run the blooper reel. But believe it or not, we didn't say any stupid shit in the filming of this episode. So if you enjoyed this video, click on these other videos because you may enjoy them as well. Cheers, everybody.